on the line. So we feel just so fortunate to be able to talk a little bit about our unique product, which is UnCruise Adventures. Let me get our little screen share here and we'll get the presentation for you. Oops, I'm just gonna do something real quick. Sorry, to grab my audio. We've got some really great videos for you as well, which will be really terrific for you to get a visual on who UnCruise is and what we're all about. And I am going to stop my video, but you'll hear my lovely, well-modulated voice. Bandwidth will be sure to reach you. So again, how awesome to have an Untours and an UnCruise. We get asked often if we're part of Untours. We aren't by finances attached to Untours, but I will tell you, we both share such a wonderful common interest, and we are so proud to be associated with Untours in the way of selling our wonderful cruises through Dee and Brian. So to get the show started, I'm going to first show you a great video. This is one of those videos that'll just, it's very, very short, but it's got an awesome vibe to it. It's a great way to get the energy about UnCruise just out in the open, and then we'll follow it up with some of the unique products that we have up in Alaska. So here you go.
Let's do this right. Let's go to
So that just gives you a little flavor of UnCruise Adventures. So let's get onto the water and into the wild. Even though we're called UnCruise, we are a cruise line. And we have most of our inventory up in Alaska. In fact, we've already started cruising in Alaska. We started on April 8th and we'll run all the way through October. But we also have Hawaii, Latin America, Galapagos, Mexico, and the Pacific Northwest. So if there's anything under all those, our friends at Untours would be happy to set you up. Again, Alaska is going to be the star of the show. There's our 7 vessels up in Alaska, just at an easy at a glance view. The 2 in our Pacific Northwest is going to be out of Portland, Oregon, or Seattle, Washington, a 7-night, 8-day cruise on both of those. Our Hawaiian Islands is a 7-night, 8-day. We visit 4 islands in Hawaii in 7 days on our 36-passenger yacht. Mexico's Sea of Cortez, our 64-passenger vessel, will sail there. In fact, she's just getting ready to come back home in May, but a great way to see the beautiful Mexico Sea of Cortez. And then in Latin America, we have a suite of products in the beautiful area starting in October and running through December, featuring Costa Rica, Panama, Guatemala, and Belize. And then the last, and then I'll get on to the star of the show with Alaska, is Galapagos. We have a great 6-night, 7-day program with a pre-night in Guayaquil. So our friends at Untours can handle any one of those if you like this style of cruising. So with UnCruise Adventures, there's 3 pillars that make up everything that we do. And the first is adventure. Now, I know we all think of adventure, we think of like having to be really athletic or really out there, but in the UnCruise way, we appeal to the novice all the way to the enthusiast. Adventure is not only physical, but more importantly, it's all about personal growth and challenges, broadening one's horizons, wanting new experiences. Adventure is all about beauty and nature, and in these days, mental health and meeting new people, and above all, lifetime experiences. So as you see, adventure encompasses so much for UnCruise Adventures. So in the second pillar is place, places that you couldn't go to without a small, nimble vessel like our vessels. Unique and remote, unforgettable places is one of the pillars with UnCruise Adventures. And the last is connection, not only connecting with adventure in place, but connecting with locals, connecting with fellow passengers, connecting with wildlife, culture, history, and nature. So if any of these pillars sound like you, well, you might be perfect for UnCruise Adventures. Our vessels range from 22 to 86 passengers. So really small, very remote. That's only 11 cabins to 43 cabins on an UnCruise. And most of our vessels are 7-night, 8-day, except we've got some extension in Alaska. Now I'm going to introduce our CEO, Captain Dan Blanchard, to you. And this video is not only beautiful, we'll show you some great remote landscapes, but we're also going to give you an idea of why we created this company, why Alaska is so close to our CEO's heart, why he was so brilliant in creating this style of cruising up in Alaska. So here you go.
Our world really isn't so small. There's a lot of places out there that are far away and are hard to get to, and the experiences are rich. I found that people come to Alaska for various reasons, but the biggest, quite frankly, is a feeling of being in the wild, a feeling of being free. For a week or two each year, when you come with us, you can truly unplug and reconnect. This land is just, it breathes life into you. I feel really connected to this place as an Alaskan. The most exciting thing for me is taking people to my special little places that nobody writes about, that nobody knows about, except for us, a few of our captains, and a few of our expedition leaders, because we know that for the experience in nature to really take hold, you can't be in there with 80 or 100 people. You need to be in small groups. The itinerary might change on any given hour. If there's whales to be seen, we're going to move to the whales. If we're in a place like this that's calm, we're going to break out the kayaks and the paddle boards. You should know, if you don't already, nature doesn't work on our clock. She's on her own clock, and we're going to follow hers. It's a massive, massive land. But even within that massive land are these small, unique places. That's what we're all about, and what we will always continue to be.
Well, I love this video. I think Dan does and describes UnCruise so well. You got a great idea of the small remote areas that we go into. I love that Dan says nature doesn't work on our clock, so we're going to follow hers. And that's exactly what we do. Nature dictates all the things that we do on our vessels, in particular in Alaska. And I love this photo. This is quintessential UnCruise Adventures. You're not going to see any other vessels up there. You're in these tiny remote areas, and that is a huge bonus of cruising on a small vessel. Now, all the activities are included. I mentioned we talked about, we appeal to the novice all the way to the experience. So if you've never been kayaking, or maybe you've never been on a kayak or been on a paddleboard, or you just want to hang out in the Zodiac, that's cool. You can do whatever you would like. Everything is planned, managed, and taught by our expedition leaders. And we will not only have 3 activities in the morning, we'll also have 3 activities in the afternoon. And you can customize your day however you would like. Our expedition leaders will talk about what we're going to do the following day. And then they'll come to each one of you and take your adventure order. And that's when you can ask great questions about what activities, what's it going to be like, what will I see, and really slot into the perfect itinerary for your day. We typically have a nature walk, getting out in the zodiacs and kayaking during the morning, and then similar in the afternoon. Again, do as much or as little as you would like, so you can really make the perfect day for yourself. Now, in my opinion, this is our silver bullet. Most all of our vessels up in Alaska is outfitted with our exclusive kayak launch platform. We call it the Easy Dock. If it's been a while since you've kayaked, or perhaps you've never kayaked at all, UnCruise is definitely the place to learn. And really on any one of our activities. But with our kayak launch pad, our expeditions will hold expedition leaders will hold a kayak 101 course. So it makes it so seamless. They typically do a course up on the deck and then get everybody used to sitting in the kayaks, grabbing the paddles, and then the expedition leaders, while we're having breakfast, will drop all the kayaks, get all the zodiacs, get all the equipment for the day down. And then that launch pad, while we're anchored, comes right down to the water line. The kayak sits right in those little grooves there. We get you all set, perfect. Adjust your seat, adjust your foot paddles, hand you your paddle, and off you go. So it's pretty amazing way. In fact, I would love to have my friend Hannah and Mike talk about this adventure.
One of my favorite things to do is to bring brand new kayakers out on the water off of our boats.
In the beginning of the week, we offer a kayak 101 and a kayak orientation, so we expect that we have people who have never kayaked before. We'll teach you to kayak. We'll teach people to kayak. We'll make sure that anybody who wants to can get into a kayak, and then we'll go out kayaking. In Southeast Alaska, we're fortunate enough to have these big mountains that block a lot of the ocean swell. We're in the inside passage.
By and large, our waters are calm, and we have some pretty resourceful ways that we launch our kayaks out onto the water that make loading them pretty easy, even for folks who have never been out in a kayak before.
Here on the Legacy, we've got the Sea Dragon, and on our other boats, we've got the Easy Docks. It is a really, really great way to experience this place.
All right. Well, thank you, Miss Hannah and Mike, for that. So another unique thing about UnCruise Adventures is that we're US flag. So what that means is we don't need to go into an international water to get back into a domestic. So all of our vessels are in Seattle. And then at the beginning of the season, which is right now, April and May, all 7 vessels will make their way up to the inside passage. We do sell those departures, which I'll talk about in a minute. But otherwise, once they're up in Southeast Alaska, they remain in Southeast Alaska. So if you call Untours and want to book an UnCruise, you would fly to either Ketchikan, Juneau, or Sitka. If you want to go to Alaska, you have 7 nights, 8 days in Alaskan waters, which is really incredible. Now, you can see we start from a port and we end in a port, but other than that, we grab all of our gear, all of our fun, the amazing food on board, all the crew, all the passengers, and off we go into the beautiful wild of Southeast Alaska. I won't spend a lot of time going through each one of these itineraries. Ms. D can help you with deciding which one is perfect for you. But I wanted to give you an idea. These are 7-night, 8-day adventures, and all of them are in Southeast Alaska in the Tonga National Forest, which is an abundance of every reason you want to go to Alaska. You heard Mike talk about we are sail in protected waters. So if you love this idea of small boat cruising, but you might think you are afraid of getting seasick, no worries. We're in all these great protected waters. We never go out into the ocean swell. And I do want to point out either, again, you would go from Ketchikan to Juneau, depending on which itinerary. We have Juneau to Sitka. I'm on the upper right-hand image here. And then just below that, the bottom right, Juneau round trip. So there's so much to see. And this round area right here, again, in that middle image on the right-hand side, that's Glacier Bay National Park. And we are so pleased that we spend a tremendous amount of time in Glacier Bay National Park. Now, this crazy sounding itinerary called Wild Woolly and Wow on the bottom left is inspired by our friends at REI. We have a great co-branding relationship with our friends at REI, and they helped us plan this itinerary. In fact, if you're an REI member, don't be shy in letting Dee know that when you book an UnCruise, because she has a special discount for you. So that is a really great way. You'll receive $250 off per person, really, when you book any of our cruises. But if you want to check out what was so wonderful, inspired by REI, that is a perfect itinerary to check out. Now, I mentioned Glacier Bay. We have more Glacier Bay permits than any other cruise line. And for all of us cruise lines, big and small, we need to have permits to enter into the bay. So it's really important to have those permits to not only just get up into Marjorie Glacier, which is tremendous, that's that bottom left image there, but also to get out and go hiking, to get our Zodiacs and take you on a Zodiac ride, to get our kayaks and launch into the way out back of Glacier Bay, to really experience it. And I'm sure you're all noticing the types of clothes that you have. What you wear for breakfast on UnCruise, you wear to dinner. It is super uber casual on every one of our voyages because we want you to be super comfortable throughout the entire voyage. So I hope these images are giving you really great idea of getting into that backcountry. And this is on the daily. This is what we do every day on an UnCruise. Now, I mentioned those positioning cruises where we start in Alaska and we make our way up to the Inside Passage at the beginning of the season. And at the end of the season, we take all of our vessels and we do the reverse and come back down to Seattle. Those are 12-night, 13-day cruises, and they are a tremendous value, We also have one of our vessels that is our REI inspired itinerary, our 7-night, that will also do a 12th night in April, 2 in July, 1 in August, and 1 in September. So if you're thinking about maybe getting out and want to bust out, trying to find something fun to do in 22, this would be a really tremendous way to spend 12 nights, 13 days for great, great value. And towards the end, I'll share a little bit about our specials that UnTours can extend to you. We also have a 14-night, 15 days. So again, if you haven't been traveling the last couple of years, you're looking for a US destination and you want to go to Alaska, or maybe you've been to Alaska on a big ship, now you want to come back and really see Alaska, we have these 2 itineraries that will go from Ketchikan to Juneau or Juneau to Ketchikan. It's our Alaska Fjord in Glacier Bay or Eastern Fjord in Glacier Bay. Both itineraries spend 2 days in Glacier Bay National Park and the Tonga National Forest. They're exceptional itineraries. You can always extend your stay because we aren't port centric like the big guys. You might want to go in a couple days early or stay a couple days late in either Juneau, Ketchikan, Sitka, or even Seattle. Alaska Airlines will route you through Seattle. And then we have a terrific land program that's a pre-tour, a 6-night, 7-day land option that will give you 2 days in Denali, 2 days in Talkeetna, and 2 days in Anchorage. And we have had this designed specifically to pair beautifully with our our cruises. Now, we have a very special time. I mentioned that we are already in Alaska and we are very early. In fact, we're the first cruise line that ever arrives in Alaska because we truly believe that this time of year is the most tremendous. There's so much that happens during this early season. We call it Alaska Awakening. And I just threw up 12 reasons. There's a million of them, but there are so many great reasons. It's historically the driest season up in Alaska, in Southeast Alaska. If you're looking for northern lights, they're more prevalent during this time of year because it's still nice and dark. In fact, our team up in Juneau, our home office up in Juneau, has been sending us amazing northern light images that have been firing off this whole week. Again, Glacier Bay National Park, we get the entire park all to ourselves. Whales are migrating. They have been giving birth and mating in warm waters, and now they're starting to migrate up to the cool waters in the summer, and they haven't been eating. So when they get up to these cool waters, there's all sorts of great activities such as bubble net feeding and really displaying all sorts of great things, as well as the bear coming out of hibernation, because we sail and cruise and get in our Zodiacs and our kayaks and do nature walks. They're so close to the shore. So we get a tremendous amount of bear activity that we're able to just view safely right from the decks of the vessel. And the towns going into Juneau and Ketchikan, Sitka this time of year, if you really want to experience that local vibe, this is definitely the great time to do it. And we've got some terrific savings, which we'll talk about in a minute. So here's our fleet. This is all 9 of our vessels. I mentioned 7 of these vessels will sail in Southeast Alaska. So we have a few here that do not. Our Safari Voyager does not, and our La Pinta is in the Galapagos, but the rest of the fleet will sail in Southeast Alaska, again, ranging from 22 to 86 passengers. And although the fleet is quite diverse, they all function so perfectly aligned in everything that we do. So it doesn't matter what vessel you get on, they'll all function exactly the same, meaning we don't have any inside passage, or excuse me, inside cabins. So if you're used to sailing on a big ship, we only have outside cabins. The other unique thing about UnCruise and the style of our vessels is, by design, we leave our entire decking open. We don't have suites. We don't have, big cabins that block the decks, because we want everybody to have access to that outdoors, because we spend so much time seeking wildlife that everybody has great wildlife. In our cabins, you can enter in from the outside of the vessel. I'm on the upper deck now, and I'm going to move down to the main deck here, or you can enter into the inside. So Dee can help to find that perfect cabin for you. But really, there's not a bad cabin on the vessel. We're small ships, we're expedition, so everybody has a great cabin. We also have some great view decks out on the bow. And then on the bridge deck is completely open. So you can get up there, you can visit we have an open bridge policy. That's where we store all of our kayaks and Zodiacs. We have our hot tubs by design positioned outside. So after a great day of activities, you can grab your newly found Alaskan amber or a cup of coffee, head up to the hot tubs and just watch the world go by. Now, I talked about seeing that wildlife from the outer decks. In this next video, it'll be very short, but it's going to be very powerful. This is our expedition leader on the bow of one of our vessels, and they spot with our guest, and they spot a whale breaching in the distance. So that is what Mother Nature gives back on an UnCruise. And that's why it's so important everybody has access to all the decking, because again, nature dictates our schedule. And if there's a wonderful display of wildlife going on, we want to make sure that we are front and center. Now, what's another great reason people love to cruise and travel is, of course, to experience the cuisine no matter where they are in the world. And we're no exception. All of our meals are healthful dining experience with our executive chef that use ingredients that reflect the local flavor of the destination. We have a very farm-to-table approach on all of our meals. And when possible, we feature fresh seafood, fresh local produce, and all of our breads and pastries are baked on board. So we source locally everywhere we can. And of course, this menu I put on the screen here for you is very indicative of Alaska. And we source all of our Dungeness crab fresh right from from a wonderful seafood company up in Alaska. So we pick it up every week from them. So it's pretty awesome. So mornings tend to feature an early risers breakfast that maybe has fresh fruits, baked on board pastries. And then we always have that early risers. And then right about 6:30, 7 o'clock, we open the dining room for a full breakfast menu. It's open seating. You can come in and sit wherever you would like. We find that camaraderie is so instant on our vessels. Friends are made so quickly that people don't want to be stuck at a certain table. They want a chance to just really roam around, get to know people. So it is an open seating, very casual on each one of our vessels. So after breakfast, you take off and do the activity that you signed up for, and then everybody comes back for lunch. And lunch range from maybe a pasta salad to sandwich, and then our amazing homemade soups on board for Alaska. So it's really terrific. Again, open seating, very casual. And then we have an afternoon of activities, or if there's an area where there's a bunch of wildlife, we may be cruising for wildlife, but we will not disappoint whatever happens after lunch. And then everybody comes back for cocktail hour, share their great day of adventure. Then dinner offers a choice of entrees that include fresh seafood and meats. Vegetarian dishes are also available, as well as special dietary needs can be met. So you just need to let our friends at UnTours know if you have any dietary needs. They'll let us know, and then we will be sure that you are greeted by the chef when you get on board the vessel, so we can handle all those dietary needs for you. And I just want to run through this very quickly. I love to say we're all included, but if we do have a few non-included. So let me get through, just go through the list very quickly. We included in the cruise fare is all of our activities, all the shore excursions, all the presentations on board. We spend a tremendous amount of time in national parks, preserves, and monuments. So all of those fees are included. Of course, all the narration by our expedition team are included. And the meet and greet day of embarkation and day of disembarkation. So if you arrive day of embarkation and leave day of disembarkation, all those transfers and bag handling are included. All of our meals are included. And I've got a little plus sign next to that, because in some destinations, we also go to have meals off the vessel. And of course, they're included. So on our Columbian Snake River, we may do a beautiful wine pairing. Or in Hawaii, we pack a wonderful lunch and go into the Halava Valley and have lunch alongside of a beautiful waterfall. Or in the Pacific Northwest, depending on the weather, we may have a campfire and bring some things ashore so we can all sit around the campfire. So all the meals while you're on an UnCruise are included. All of our beverages are included. It's whether it's non-alcoholic or alcoholic. It's not 1 or 2 glasses of wine. It's anything that you would like when you would like on our vessels. And then we talk a little bit about our wellness amenities. We have hot tubs that are located outside. We've got some fitness equipment, and we also have some yoga mats. We found that people love to do a nice little light stretch, and depending on the weather, our expedition leaders will lead us in a nice light stretch every morning. What's not included is our port fees and taxes, which are listed. Any of the gratuities that you would like to extend out to our vessel crew are not included. Remember, you fly to the destination when you join an UnCruise, so that airfare is not included. And I know our friends at Untours are a big proponent of travel protection as a pro tip, so that is not included either. Some other really cool stuff I just wanted to mention during the presentation. If you're a solo out there, please come join us. We've got great solo cabins on board. And as I mentioned, camaraderie is extremely instant on all of our vessels. So it's a great way to travel. Also, family is a big part of what we do at UnCruise Adventures. So kids 8 to 18, you'll save $500. And I have a spring break special as we near the end of the presentation I'll talk about with families. And then, of course, if you're still traveling in your bubble, if you have your group of friends or your family and you're just not quite ready to break away, but you want to get out there and travel, we've got some great group and charter information that the folks at UnTours can talk about and go through. Now, most people started social distancing in 2020, but at UnCruise, we like to say we've been social distancing since 1996, taking our guests into really remote area. We're celebrating our 26th anniversary this year, but the idea for UnCruise is really getting into these remote areas. And one thing that's really special is our brochure. And both Brian and Dee have this available. So if you're interested, please reach out to them. They'd be happy to send the link to you. And it is a digital brochure. It functions like a digital brochure where you can click the pages online. But the coolest part about our brochure is that you can go cyber cruising. We have videos embedded throughout the brochure, so it gives you other really great visuals. We have links, so it's really a great way to go cyber cruising and pick your perfect voyage. Now, we talked about having some great specials that our friends at Untours can extend out to you. And remember, we talked about that 12-night cruise from Seattle up to Juneau or Juneau back down to Seattle. Well, we have a promotion running that you can get that 12-night cruise for only the cost of a 7-night, and that's on our Wilderness Legacy. So pretty awesome. The spring break special are double kid savings. So $1,000 per child ages 8 to 17 on any new bookings that come through. We also, that REI inspired itineraries, Whales, Woolly, and Wow, we are extending $1,000 per cabin on any one of those itineraries. And then we also, if you want to cruise with us this month, May or in June, that beautiful Alaska Awakening, those wonderful spring months, we're extending a $1,500 per cabin. And all these savings are through June 15. And remember, if you have a family traveling together or a group of friends that are traveling together and you're looking for something to do on our Wilderness Legacy as well, it's $1,000 group savings. And then finally, again, if you're single and want to get out there, oftentimes when you book a cruise, if you're a single, you'll get hit with a supplement to for a cabin. We have right now a 0 single supplement on select departures. So again, our friends at Untours could definitely help walk through and see exactly which departures have those 0 single supplements for you. So I am almost near the end of the presentation. I've got one more video to show you just so we can bring in full circle back to Alaska, and then we can open it up for questions. So here you go. Here's a great video with UnCruise in Alaska. Alrighty, so with that, I'm going to bring Brian back on the line, but as you can see here on this last slide, we'll leave it up for you to book and save. Certainly reach out to our friends at Untours. There's their website, their email, as well as their phone number. So Brian, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. And you're making me want to go, that's for sure.
That's great.
So now is a good time for questions, and if you like, Julie, you can stop the screen share so we can see each other.
Alrighty.
So if anyone has a question, this is a good time to ask it.
Did we stump everyone?
Yeah, and like I said, it's okay if you just unmute yourself and ask the question. While people are thinking of questions, I have a question for you, Julie. What is the most popular itinerary in Alaska, and why do you think it is the most popular?
Oh, that is it's a great question, and it's asked often, but it's a tough one because we concentrate in the inside passage. If people have never been to Glacier Bay and it's on their bucket list, certainly that is going to be a highlight for them. We have one itinerary that features 2 days in Glacier Bay National Park. And that's usually, if that's on their bucket list, that's usually the one that they choose. But really, every one of them offers just so much abundant. And that's what Southeast Alaska gives back to you, because you're that great succession of ice flow and the whale migration and bear and wildlife, and heavily studied by the National Park Service. There's so much information in that area. So that one probably, I guess if people have never been to Glacier Bay, that would probably be, it's called our Glacier Bay Adventure. So that's probably the most popular.
Okay, great. All right, any other questions from anyone else? All right, I'll throw out another one.
Okay.
If someone is on the older side, let's say, over 70, and they might be a little too creaky to get into a kayak or do a difficult hike, what's someone in that age group, in that sort of physical fitness group, going to be doing on a cruise like this?
So that's a great question in the sense when I speak about the novice all the way to the experience, but I like that you said creaky. I mean, we all have creaks, right? So because we have such a variety of adventure during the cruise, when we do our nature walks, we have 3 different levels of nature walks, because we know not everybody is exactly the same. So we'll have a nice light nature walk. It might be a tidal pool or a flat, area that we go into, which within 10 feet, you're going to find tremendous things up in Southeast. We'll have a more moderate walk, and we'll also have something called a bushwhacking, which is our kind of high-end walk, and it may be higher in elevation or maybe in length that we're out. So everybody can fit into everything that we do on board. And then our Zodiacs are a terrific way for our guests to just step right into the Zodiac and have our crew and our expedition leaders handle everything for them. We bring nature to them with our Zodiac. So, and if someone didn't want to do a thing at all and they just want to kick back on the vessel, they can certainly do that as well. But often more times than not, you heard Hannah say her favorite thing to do is to put new people out in kayaks, because people don't realize how easy we make it for them. And it really is, it's just such a neat thing of self-accomplished to get out and paddle around or just float around in the water. It's pretty incredible.
Great.
It sounds intriguing, Julie. Thank you. That was, I hope we piqued some people's interests. I know it has mine.
Yeah, it's a pretty special way. We also, something that would be worth adding is that we tend to attract non-cruisers versus cruisers. So typically the person, and maybe you're in the audience, that like, I would love to go to Alaska, I just don't want to get on a big ship. Maybe it's just not your thing. Most of our demographics will range from 55 to 80. That's the primary demographics with UnCruise, and they tend to be non-cruisers. So it does surprise people a lot. And then thus the name UnCruise, right? There's a lot of reasons why we're UnCruise. So yes, we're a cruise line, but we function so differently. So
I take it you don't have a casino on board.
no casino, no, I say our plumage are not the dancing girls, it's the scarlet macaws. Our ice sculptures aren't one that you would find on a buffet line, but certainly out in Alaska with glaciers. So there's a lot of fun things we do, but yeah, you're absolutely right. We're extremely casual on board. And while we have amazing food, we really try to show people an authentic experience and really immerse them into the destination.
Great, great. Dee, is there a question that you get a lot when you're talking to people about these cruises?
I think the main question is one that you had asked. What is the most popular? And in my opinion, I think it's the one that our guests seem to book a lot is Alaska Fjords and Glaciers.
Oh,
So, but I think that's the most, I mean, because there's a lot to choose from in terms of different itineraries. So
there
that's
is.
the main one that people ask about.
Yeah.
You know, not the ship aspect is quite, it's actually secondary, but
Yes.
of
Well
course
said.
yeah, but it is, I mean, it all adds to the experience, but that would, you know, that would be it. I mean, I hope that we generate some interest. I think it's a wonderful, I think it would be a great experience, really nice product. I hope people
Oh,
are
we have a question from the audience.
I have a question
Yay,
from the
great
audience.
soul.
First of all, thank you very much. It's very interesting. I have a question concerning the hiking. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most difficult, how would you rank the degree of difficulty of hiking? And on a hike in Alaska, does the guide carry a rifle?
Excellent, excellent question. With our hiking, we will offer 3 different styles. We'll offer a nice light moderate that I would say was a 1 or 2. We offer an intermediate hike that what I would say was more of a 4 or 5. And then we offer something called bushwhacking, which is our highest level. And that could get up to as high as a 9. So when we offer hiking, we'll offer all 3 at one time. So that we'll always have 3 different guides that take out at those 3 different levels. So it's a really a nice way to kind of fit into whatever you would like to do on that day. They don't carry a rifle, but they do carry bear spray. And they're all trained in the wildlife of Alaska and safety. We'll typically have 2 guides. We'll have one at the front and one that will follow behind. And in most cases, we only go as fast as the slowest person in the group. And a lot of our folks are photographers, or they love to carry a camera, I should say. So we're taking a lot of photos where our expedition leaders are narrating throughout the guide or out the hike as well, which of course is a huge interest in why people go on those nature walks.
What's the length of time of a standard hike?
You know, it's going to vary. I would say average is maybe 2 hours. You know, you're out and doing kind of a meander. Even the light hikes with the stopping with narrating, especially if it's tidal pool, or if we're talking about the nature, the flora, the fauna of the area, we may walk for a while and then stop, and the expedition leader will show us, maybe it's bear's claw or whatever it is, which is a plant, by the way, not an actual bear claw. So it's just a nice, perfectly balanced, you know, walking and narrating along the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great question.
Okay, good. Last call for questions. Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Julie, and thanks everybody for joining us. This has been really fun. We'll send everybody a video of this, so you can feel free to look at it later or send your friends, or if you arrived late, you can see what you missed. Yeah, so thank you everybody, and we will be hoping to talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Hope to hear from you soon. That's right. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.